Hey everyone, Nick Genetakis here. In this video, I'd like to talk about a topic which I think is really important for software developers, which is, how do you take this really vague project idea in your head and start breaking it down into actionable steps that you can take to really start completing the project that you want to make. Or I should say, even be able to start the project that you make, which is also a very important software developer trait. Being able to start and finish projects is what gets you hired for jobs, hired for freelance work, contributing and finishing open source projects, writing side projects to scratch your own itch, creating software as a service applications that you sell. Like, it all starts with you taking some concept in your head, creating some type of plan to implement it, hopefully, then actually implementing it and then shipping it. And it's super easy to get stuck in a loop where you're just sitting there consuming knowledge, learning, reading Hacker News, reading whatever you want to read, and you don't produce any output. And I think that really stems from just not having a plan to execute, because a very vague thing in your head, like create a course hosting platform, like that's a really daunting task, or whatever application you want to make. So the goal here is to really just get started. Like, how do you get started? And that's what this video is going to be about. And in case you can't notice already, like, this video is very much unscripted. I basically just flipped on the recorder, and I'm going to try to just explain my entire thought process along the way as I actually do this for a course hosting platform, which is something I wanted to develop for a really long time. So in case you don't know this about me, and by the way, there's going to be a point to this story, or let me just preface this with one of the first things you should do when it comes to, and by the way, when I say should do or could do or would do or want to do or whatever, like, obviously this is my opinion. I've been a software developer for a while. These things seem to work pretty well for me. They might work for you. They might not work for you. But don't worry, we're not going to be sitting here, creating like a 500-page business plan for some BS like that. Like, when I say planning, it's not like that. It's going to be very little planning versus coding. But we're also not even going to be coding anything in this video at all, because, this is more of a mental video. It's like, how do you get the things out of your head onto a paper or a code editor? And then from there, the syntax of your programming language of choice, like, that's almost the easy part. Like, the hard part is just making sense of it all. Anyways, yeah, like motive's a really important thing to determine up front. Like, what are you doing? Like, what type of project is this? Are you scratching your own itch? Which is usually one of the best types of projects to create, because you have a lot of motivation to start and finish that, because it's to do something that you actually want accomplished. So to give you an example of that, in the past, a long time ago, 12, 15 years ago, something like that, I used to play this online golf game, and I created a C# like Windows application that did some crazy stuff. Like, it zoomed into the game window to like capture the angle of the wind, because there could be a lot of different angles, and like it calculated things, and it let me shoot hole-in-ones, and it was pretty interesting. Like, it drew lines on the screen to help me line things up, and I only distributed it to one friend. If you're watching this video, how's it going? Haven't talked to you in 15 years. But yeah, anyways, like, that's an example of scratching your own itch, right? I wanted to make this program to help me play a game, and I made the program and used it for years, and it was glorious. But maybe you have other motives, right? Sometimes you just want to build something for the sake of learning, which I think is kind of cool, but it's really easy to get burnt out from a project like that, because you don't really have any drive to finish it. Because, like, just learning for the sake of learning a web framework or something like that never meshed too well with my brain. But it might for yours, so your mileage may vary. But then other motives might be like, well, maybe you're trying to put together like a resume. Maybe you're open sourcing some library, because it doesn't necessarily need to be a web application or a desktop app. Like, it could be anything, right? Anything that you plan to publish. So other possible things that you might want to develop would be, is it a SaaS application, or something that you plan to profit from or sell? Or maybe is it somewhere in between? Like, the course hosting platform for me is something in between. And I'm going to try to keep this short. This is unscripted. I don't know how long this is going to go for in terms of the story, but one of the reasons that I want to create this course hosting platform is, about 4 years ago, I created my first video course, and I had no course hosting platform for this. I had no experience creating videos or, dealing with audio or editing videos or doing anything like that. But, one day I woke up, and by the way, I was doing freelance work back then, and I still am now, but I kind of figured I'm going to take a shot doing video courses and let me see how it goes. So, I had no audience at all, but I just started a Kickstarter, and I was like, yeah, okay, I'm going to make this Flask course. It's going to be awesome. We're going to build a real world application, because no one was really using that term or phrase back then, or at least I haven't seen. And most people doing tutorial courses now, it's usually some toy example. But the application we built in this course is no joke. And by the way, this is not a sales pitch for the course. Maybe I'll link it in the description or whatever. That's not important. What's important was I wanted to do videos. I had no course hosting platform. And I made the Kickstarter. I put the Kickstarter up, somehow raised $12,000, succeeded. And then I was like, yeah, I'm going to make the video course in 3 months. No problem. I'm going to make this 10-hour Flask course, never having done video before. And I don't know how I did it, but I somehow did freelance projects, making the course, and I had 2 weeks to spare. But I put it in some serious freaking time, man. 80 hours a week was what I was averaging then, which is a hell of a lot more than I put in these days. But, I just underestimated the amount of work it takes to make a video course in its own, let alone making a course hosting platform. So I finished making the course, and I had 2 weeks left to go for my deadline in Kickstarter. And there's no possible way, I'm usually pretty safe with estimates I give, especially to clients. I never try to say oh yeah, I'll finish that in 3 days, and then it takes 2 weeks. That just makes you look like an idiot. So usually, if anything, I'll be like, okay, that's going to take a solid week. And then maybe I'll finish it in 5 days, or whatever, 4 days. I'll finish a little bit early. And, that keeps clients happy, and it gives me a buffer in case things get a little bit crazier than I anticipated. But anyways, I had 2 weeks to make a course platform, and I knew for a fact, hell no, there's no way I'm going to be able to make a full-blown streaming course hosting platform in that amount of time. But what I did do was, in the Flask application, we actually build a SaaS application where people can sign up, and it accepts payments with Stripe, and there's emailing and all this other stuff. And I actually used the application I made in the course as a base for the application that I built to sell the course, which I released after the Kickstarter. But it wasn't a streaming service for the course hosting platform. So people were able to, go to the course description page. And then, by the way, this course is, it was $200 when I released it initially, $199. So, it wasn't like I was selling a $5 or $10 crappy course. There was a lot of content, a lot of videos, a lot of things you get with the course, and a lot on the line too. If you're accepting $200 payments from people, you want to make sure that everything is good. You want to make sure they get access to what they paid for, no errors with the billing and all this other stuff. But long story short, I put together the platform in 2 weeks. People can sign up, they can put in their billing information, they have an account, and then, after they've purchased the course, they had a little dashboard where they can just download a protected zip file just for them. And this zip file was about 2.5 gigs, and it had all 10 hours of video broken up into, many, many videos. Actually, back then, my style of videos were a little bit different than today. Back then, I had 45-minute videos, so it wasn't that many individual videos. Nowadays, I rewrote that course, and there's 190 individual videos. But long story short, I built an offline course player just with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, where you had a table of contents on the right. You click that, it opens up the video in the middle, and you can watch the video. If you wanted to get support for the video or the course, there was a link there that just opened up an email address where you can email me. The whole entire course watching experience was offline just for the person who bought the course. There was no software as a service for it. And this worked really well. It allowed me to get the platform up and running, and people were able to buy the course, and I was happy with the results. People were happy with the results. But every once in a while, someone would email me and they would be like, yo, love the course, love the support, thanks for everything, but how can I stream the course? Obviously they have an internet connection, they can download a zip file and watch it offline, but a lot of people just want to be able to open up a browser and click play, and that's it. Like they don't want to download a 2.5 gig zip file, extract that on their computer, play around with opening HTML files. They just want to open the browser, click play, and then also get some interactiveness, like being able to track their progress and seeing some stats and maybe commenting on a specific video instead of having to email me directly. And like those are really, really, really important things. Absolutely. Like 100% I agree. But I guess you could say the reason why I didn't do that initially was, time constraints. You can only do so much. And after that course was being sold for quite a while, a couple of months, I was happy with the results and things were going well. And I started thinking about like, wow, like I want to make my next course. Like I'm already doing some freelance work, blogging a bit at that point, kind of just started doing that. And then I just really wanted to make my next video course about Docker because Docker was like, keep in mind, this is like 4 something years ago. Docker was brand new, like literally was like 1.0, like 6 months prior to when I started to want to make a course. But I knew as a human being, there's no possible way in the world that I would be able to juggle multiple freelance clients, make the Docker course that I wanted to make, which by the way, takes a long ass time, like 3-4 months just to plan and record and edit and produce that whole entire thing. And then, blogging a bit on the side. And I don't think I really started doing YouTube videos back then, but it was something I wanted to do. But, and then I had my own personal life. Like I love programming. I love the computer. I love doing things online, but it's like, you don't want to be on the computer literally your entire life. And that's an important thing to note too. If you're like an entrepreneur or a freelance developer, not really working for a single company, it's super easy to get ridiculously involved in your work where before you know it, like you spent 3 years doing nothing but working, but a lot of it's like unproductive work because you're trying to grind out these 10-hour, 12-hour days and whatever. But like long story short, I knew I couldn't create the course platform, juggle multiple freelance clients, do the whole blogging thing, and have a personal life. Like it's too much on my plate, especially, way too much to do for one person. So my motive here was like, well, I have the platform and it's sort of working pretty well. I know I want to make the next course, but I'm not ready to make the course platform right now. But I do want to have people to be able to stream the course. So I signed up to this one course hosting platform, software as a service application called thinkific.com. So it's not really an application, right? It's a SaaS app that you just go to their website, but it's basically, it's like a course hosting platform in a box. Also, maybe you're familiar with Teachable. Teachable is another one very similar. They both allow you as a course creator to basically sign up. You pay them some amount of money per month, and they give you the whole platform where users can sign up. They can pay with credit cards or Stripe, or actually Stripe with credit cards, PayPal, etc. And then students can watch your courses. They can stream them. There's like a whole video player with like discussion boards, and you as a course creator have like a whole admin backend where you can take a look at your payments, assemble your course, and all that good stuff. So instead of making my own platform from scratch, I decided to go with them. And for the last couple of years, I've been, hosting all of my courses through Thinkific. By the way, well, I don't want to make this video about the shortcomings of Thinkific, but if you were in the same position as me, I probably would choose Teachable, which is teachable.com today instead. But now, fast forward to now, like I don't want to switch to Teachable because, well, it would be pretty easy for me to switch. I mean, I could probably do that switch in about 6 hours, putting all of my courses on that platform. The hard part is when you have many, 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 many thousands of people who have all of their like invoices and progress tracking and accounts on Thinkific, like moving them to Teachable it's not, I don't want to say it's a dick move, but like, if you're going to make a move like that, that better be like the last move you make, because it's a real inconvenience for people, like any student who takes the course where, oh, I'm going to lose all my progress and now I have to like make a new account on this platform. Like, I don't want to impose that on a lot of thousands of people. But eventually I am going to have to impose that when I make my own course platform. And I feel like now is the time where, I still am doing quite a bit of freelance work, but it's a little bit slow right now. I am working on my next course, like right now, which is going to be a web app deployment course using Ansible and Docker and all sorts of other good stuff. And this video is not a pitch on that. I'm just telling you what it is. But I finally feel like I have the time to make the course platform, and it's something I've wanted to make for such a long time. In fact, wow, this video is getting to be pretty long. I'm going to take a drink of water. Yeah. So I have this idea in my head of making the course platform, and I've wanted to make this for so long, and I thought about it a little bit, and even like 9 months ago, I even started to code it a little bit, but I kind of just fizzled out because it was like, well, Thinkific is working okay enough, and like I'm real busy right now, and let me just put this on the back burner. But now things are changing. Now I actually want to make the course platform for real, and thinking about even open sourcing it. I don't think I'm gonna like live stream developing the whole thing. That would be insane, but I'll probably put some highlight videos up on YouTube. Maybe I'll stream a little bit on Twitch, like some of the interesting parts maybe. But yeah, so I kind of figured with this video, wow, this is freaking long already. 16 minutes and I haven't even gotten into planning this whole thing out. But this comes all back to motive. Like, if you're in a position where you're scratching your own itch and you need to make the application because nothing else exists, yeah, write the application. But for me, where it was kind of like, well, I could maybe develop it, but there's something else that does the job okay enough for now. But my real bottom line is like creating and selling and distributing these courses to people, because eventually I want to make free courses as well. Maybe going for that third-party platform is better early on until you can even test the market to see if like what you're doing makes sense for you. And in this video, I don't have any slides prepared, and it's not going to be any like theory-based BS. Like, this is going to be totally raw, pretty much uncut, like really awkward silences I might remove. But yeah, instead of just loading up on theoretical stuff, I'm actually going to go through the process of breaking down this vague idea of a course hosting platform on video. And maybe you can apply some of the same strategies for the application that you want to develop. So we already went over like not the main thing, but like the first thing, which is motive, right? Like, what's your motivation for making this software project that you want to do? Another thing to maybe think about is like, are you going to open source this project or not? Like, I wouldn't get hung up on that right now, but it does introduce some things that you might need to think about. Like, well, if you don't open source it, you don't even need to think about a license, really, because no one else is going to see it. But if you decide to open source it, then a license decision is something that you'll need to really think about. So what is this one site? Let me see if I can open up Firefox here. I think it's choosealicense.com. Okay, it is choose a license. Yeah, so if you go to choosealicense.com, and we're not going to spend much time on licenses at all. So I don't know. I don't want to jade your opinion of which ones you should pick, but if you're going to open source a project, well, let me give you an example. For the course hosting platform, I'm probably going to use GPL v2, but I'm still not 100% on that. And that's something I'm kind of just pushing to the back burner for now. But usually, if you're going to open source a project like that, it would either be, or even any open source library or whatever. Well, for a library, you'd probably want to use MIT, but really it's probably going to come down to either an MIT license, which basically says the user of your code can do whatever the heck they want as long as they keep the copyright and license information. Again, I'm not a license expert, so you might want to review this, so don't take everything I say as 100% truth, but I'm pretty sure that's the gist of it. And then for GPL, it's a little bit more restrictive. What is it? What is that term? Like a copy left or something license, whatever. But basically, well, as it says here, like you can do basically almost everything you want, or other people using your code can do basically whatever they want, but they can't distribute closed source versions of the application, something like that. Anyways, who cares about licenses for now? But if you're going to open source it, you may want to think about what license to pick. Then it's going to really come down to, like fleshing out the features of your application, right? And to begin that process, what I like to do is think about the user workflow or the process they're going to take to start using your project. So for this thing, what I like to do is just type it out in a markdown document. I'm inside my sites directory right now. Typically, I would just make a new folder for the project. I'm actually not sure what I want to name the project. Usually I just use things like a placeholder like project X. So I'll go into there and then I'll just make like a notes.md file. And that's really how I begin most projects. And so the first thing here when we're dealing with the user workflow or the process is like, okay, so if someone goes to this theoretical course platform, because at this point it is still theoretical, like how is this whole process going to work? So the way I have my site set up now is, I have my main website. This is where I have my blog, list of courses, about me, etc. Right? That's where people can find everything about me, basically. It's my single source of truth for me. But I have all of my courses on a separate domain name. So I have like diveintodocker.com, build a SaaS app with Flask, if I can spell that, .com. And if you go to one of these pages here, let's see, whatever, we'll do the Flask one, build a SaaS app with Flask. It's just, the landing page for the course, right? If you're not into sales, maybe this is like the course description page, like whatever. It's where you go to learn more about the course and then eventually buy it. So there's like an intro video and like we have all of this stuff here. Why should you use Flask, topics covered, blah, 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 table of contents, pricing table. And then here's where you can get the course, right? And this is actually just a static website, a Jekyll website that serves the landing page. But if you go to actually click this, then it's going to go to the Thinkific backend, which is running on courses.nickgenatakis.com. And, again, what we're looking at here now is a little theme that is available at Thinkific. I did some minor modifications to some of the colors, but what their workflow is you have to put in your name, email, and password. And then after you sign up for the account, you would drop in your billing information. You can either use a credit card or you can use PayPal. And then after you've done that second step, which is here, like confirm and pay, then you get immediate access to the course and you can watch it, and progress and all that good stuff. But I don't want to really replicate this exact workflow. I'm going to do things a little bit differently, I think. So I am going to still have the concept of every course will be on its own domain name. So like this page will be essentially the same. I'll probably redesign it, maybe. I don't know. It's actually converting quite well, so I don't want to really mess with it too much. But the workflow for the end user, someone who wants to get the course, this is the first page they're going to see. And I still want to have it set up to where, they click get the course and it brings them to my course hosting platform. So I still do like the idea of individual courses having their own domain name, but then for the actual course watching itself, people will always go to courses.nickgenatakis.com. And then they can log in and see all their courses and resume where they want to go. And they don't need to worry about remembering a million different domain names for every course. Although I will say this page is no longer going to be a Jekyll static page. Like this is going to be part of the course hosting platform itself. And there'll be like a way to log in, even if someone did go to this page and they want to access the course because they remember the domain name, but they forgot the courses.nickgenatakis.com. So yes, it all begins here. So step number one for this would be like, what's the user workflow? It's going to be, go to course landing page on custom domain. 2, click buy button, which leads to courses.nickgenatakis.com. I'm just putting my initials because I don't even like spelling out my whole entire name. Well, I did it anyways. So now they're at that point where they click the buy button, and now we have I'm not going to even go into super detail about like the decision tree that would need to happen here, because technically if they go to this course landing page and they already have an account, these after step 2 is going to be different. So once they click the buy button, which leads to courses.nickgenatakis.com, this is going to, leads to account creation and then course payment page. And really this is where differentiation happens between someone being logged in with an account already, because a lot of people do buy the Flask course, but then they also buy the Docker course after, or they do, others, like they buy the Docker course and then the Flask one, or maybe just one. But in either case, there is that use case where someone could potentially be logged in already and they don't need to make a new account to buy a second course because it's all underneath the same single course hosting platform. But yeah, let's keep it simple for now because we can always go into more details later. So the workflow here, go to the landing page, click the buy button, leads to account creation, and then the course payment page. But, and this is really like a UI design now to be like, well, do you want to have course creation and the course payments on the same page? I guess you could, but like I sort of like the idea of keeping them separate. That's like, implementation details that I won't get hung up on now, like during the planning phase, but that's like something typically I would just write, like think about, like form design, split or single page. But there is one thing that I definitely want to do, and that is use like quote unquote magic links. So I don't plan to have user passwords. Basically, it'll just be putting in an email address. And then for the first time you log in, it's all just going to be hooked up to where you don't need to confirm anything. And you can just start watching immediately. But after the first session, anytime you want to log in, it's just going to email you a link that you click. And then once you click that link, you will be logged in for as long as your browser decides to save cookies. So I'll probably default to like 6 months or something like that. You won't have to log in every single time. But again, this is like implementation details. Magic link style login. But, we're kind of dealing with the workflow of the user now, not like super low level details of all of this stuff. But while I am developing the workflow and questions like that come up in my head, yes, I will write down little notes like this because you want to keep these things written down so you don't forget them later, even if they're like semi-basic things. I love adding notes and things to documents, but not deleting them because I love to be able to go back and like see the process of what led me to do something. Whereas it's funny with code, like one of my favorite moves is deleting code. Like not having to write code is amazing. Okay, so workflow. Yes, landing page, buy button, leads to account creation. So now like let's say that, they put in their credit card details or they put in a PayPal email address or Apple Pay or whatever, and they should have immediate access to the course, right? So access to the course. Whether or not they should see a dashboard page first, maybe like an overall, how could you even describe it? Like an enrollments page, maybe like an overview, like this is your dashboard where you have a list of courses and then they click the one that they just bought. Or does it go straight into like the first video of the course that they bought? Or maybe, keep in mind, I'm doing this all basically in real time. Like I didn't give that much thought to this stuff before. And I feel like, it's going to make a hell of a long video, but it's like the process of doing this is like the important part. It's not so much the end result. Like, how did I arrive there? I think that's an important thing. And that's why I'm kind of making the video, both for anyone who wants to watch it and also for myself, because I don't really watch my videos once I produce them. But maybe something like this would actually be pretty useful. So yes, access to the course. And this is one of those things where it's like we have a couple choices here. Let me just flesh it out. So do we go to a dashboard page with a list of courses, or do we go to the first video in the course they bought? Or maybe we can have or do we send them to a welcome page? That's something to think about. To maybe like onboard them a bit with info beyond billing. So what I mean by that is like, when it comes to the billing information, to keep conversion rates high as well as credit card fraud down, you got to make a balance somewhere. It's like, you can either ask them for a million pieces of information, like first name, last name on card, card number, card expiration date, CVC code on the back. Like that's pretty much the bare minimum. Technically, you don't even need the name on card, but then fraud detection is a little bit trickier. like Stripe can't be as accurate for that. So you may get a little bit of credit card fraud issues that you need to deal with. So it's probably worth asking for their name up front. Plus, people are super used to putting in their name for a credit card. But there is other additional information that you can add to help prevent credit card fraud, which is things like address and zip code and stuff like that. And I feel like asking for that information up front is a little bit weird because that's a lot of form fields, right? It's like you have street address, city, state, zip code, country, because not everybody's from the US. And then it's like you got to figure out how you want to like store that address, because US addresses are written one way, but then like Poland addresses are written a different way. Yeah, also I feel like if someone needs to fill out like 17 different form fields just to make the payment, it's going to lower conversion rates, but it does make it a lot easier to prevent fraud if you put in the address and it happens to match the card. Because a lot of people who do credit card theft, they don't know your exact address, but you know, they have obviously maybe the name because it's on the card, but that's all they have. So it does help to put in the address, but in either case, to be determined. But there is other information that you may want to collect afterwards. So things like maybe a username, like I'm anticipating with the course platform, there's going to be something similar-ish to GitHub, where you have like an issue tracker where people can post issues, like a topic, and then within that issue or topic, other people can comment, including myself. So if someone asks me a question about a certain video, so let's say they're watching the video, I'm sort of getting ahead of myself here, but I mean, like, this is where we're at here, because it comes down to like the username, because it's going to essentially be like a publicly displayed name, because a lot of people or some people don't necessarily want to share their real name. And I totally get that. Like, I think that policy of forcing your real name to be displayed on a website is stupid. Like, I grew up on the, like, I guess for me, it's the old school internet, like late mid 90s, where anonymity was everything. Like, you had a handle online. You never in a million years would put your real name. That's a lot different nowadays, but I do like the idea of either having like a display name or a username type of thing. So it's like, well, I don't want to say step 5. This is still here. It's like, well, welcome page where they can choose a username / display name. I think that's a reasonable thing. I don't know what other information, could be here. Maybe it's like, maybe also upload a profile picture, or if not, like one of those, like, what is that word? Initials. One of those, like, choose random colors / and get initials from name. Like when you go to, I guess, any of Google services, I don't know if it just says, like, if your name is Nick, you'll just see like an N, and then the color is some like random hex code for like a visible color, which is actually like, wow, I don't even know what made me say visible color, but like that's a whole problem in its own. Like, if you're going to generate a random color for someone's like little profile image, like a little circle, and you're going to use random colors, and like, let's say the background of your page is white, like you don't want that circle to be like FA, 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 which is like a super light gray, because you can't even see that. And also, like, when it comes to the circle itself, like if you do, I don't know, right, like a black circle, you can't have the text be black because then they can't see the initials. Wow, all little things to think about. But these kind of naturally come out just by going over the workflow. So it's like this welcome page. Maybe they can upload a profile picture, or if they don't feel like it, yeah, it'll just choose a random color and then get their initials as an automated, like, random profile, like, circle. Right. One thing I noticed too, especially on, well, not so much Reddit, but I guess we're Hacker News, but it is nice to have a little like identifying circle or a profile image or something where you can associate someone visually to like an avatar. I mean, that's what it is, really. It's an avatar, right? Like if someone's name is like Joe Blow, but you have like 15 people commenting in something, it's very hard to really differentiate people. But if they just have a unique color next to their name, like a green circle, or this person has like a light red circle, I don't know. Maybe I'm just like more of a visual learner. I've always preferred learning by video and seeing things done. Like even as someone who does course support for a lot of thousands of people, I can remember context and everything about someone, like almost everything what they posted, even like months down the line, as long as there's some like visual identifier tied into their name. So like if it's just their name, I'll remember their name because most of the time, but I will not remember details. But once I see that color or a profile picture of like their face, then it's just like, whoa, suddenly I can like recall all this great information about them. So I want that in my platform. If anything, just for me to be able to support students better. So I think the welcome page, again, like here, I'm just like brain dumping my thoughts. You probably have seen this thing on my hand too. It's not like a cast, or I'm not like a weirdo. It's not like a Nintendo Power Glove. Later on, I do have a stylus and a little drawing pad, and I may put some of that stuff on screen. Didn't really plan too much ahead of the video, but I did at least have the foresight to charge this bad boy up in case I wanted to use it. And I can't really show you, not the stylus, but like the pad where I were drawn. But, it came with this little glove where this part of your hand goes on the bottom of the thing you draw on, the tablet part, just so like your hand oils and sweat or whatever doesn't go onto it. So that's why I have it on. It's sort of weird, especially when typing and using the mouse because I'm not used to feeling it. Anyways, so access to the course. Yeah, I'm pretty much sold on the welcome page. I like the welcome page idea for at least the username. Maybe the profile thing can come later, but because really when someone goes and buys your course, they just want to get into the action and start watching. They don't want to have to go through like a whole onboarding process where they need to fill out like 15 different things. Like, it's like, shut up, give me the course. That's it. Like, that's what I would expect. So I think, yeah, so let me write that down, right? Like, really, really reduce fields they need to fill out. Get into the action, right? That's really what it comes down to. I.e. watching the video, right? Watching the course video. Course videos. Okay, so it's like now they have access to the course. And this is where it starts to get interesting, especially, well, my throat's getting dry. Hold on. Good old water. That's like 95% of what I drink. A lot of people don't like water, which is weird, but I think it's actually pretty good. So they have access to the course. Now, what I would actually like to do in the course, well, yeah. One thing that I thought about that's really weird, like my whole entire brain just shut off for like 3 seconds. One thing that I liked, so when I learned Rails way back in the day, actually it's not way back because Rails has been around for a real long time, like over 10 years, and I actually got started with Rails 4, which is a number of years ago, but not that old school. But there was this really, really great website, like railscasts.com, and I'm pretty sure it's still available now. I haven't been to it in a really long time. Wait, is it .com or .org? Like my brain auto-completed .org. Aw, I guess it was .com. Railscasts.com, if I can type. Thank you. Here we go. So it's a little bit old school looking. I mean, it's been around for a long ass time. But one really cool thing that I liked about his platform, because this is how I learned Rails. Like, I built a really involved personal scratch my own itch type of thing. And I watched like here he has 417 videos, but he had much less when I began watching them. But I watched every Rails 3.0 and above video, basically. Like every time I was like, how do I do pagination but get the table columns to sort? Oh yeah, Ryan, the guy who made this website, Ryan Bates, he had a video just on that. And it's like what came up when I Googled. Yeah, really, 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 really good service here. As you can see though, it's like 6 years old. I can make that a little bit bigger. But anyways, when you click into one of these videos, what I really, really enjoyed, let me see if I can click into that. I don't want sound to come up though. Yeah, I'm not going to start playing his videos on this video because weird stuff happens with YouTube in that sense. But the idea is though, and I really like this layout of, you have this video player box here, But then underneath the player video box, you have tabs that you can navigate to that aren't the video itself. Like he has show notes, and these show notes have the source code that was, he talks about in the video. And then, well, there's no like, I guess he has the ASCII cast separate. Yeah. So this is more of like a transcript of the video, which I get a lot of people asking for, even with the Thinkific setup now. It's like, well, people typically who buy a video course love to watch a video, but after you've watched the course once or maybe even twice, I've actually had people, they watch the Flask course like 4 or 5, 6 times over the course of like a year and a half. But when it comes to recalling information later, I think having a transcript is real important, especially if it's formatted real nice like this, with like a blog post. I mean, doing screenshots, that takes a lot of effort. I mean, that's what it is. Like, that's your business as the course creator. You got to make polished stuff. But I think for starters, I'll start with just a searchable transcript. And then maybe one thing I'd like to start maybe doing is like delegating. Like maybe once I get the transcript done, maybe I can delegate to someone to format them as a blog post instead. Anyways, this idea of like the course watching experience where the big video, and then they have these tabs here like resource links or reference links or, a transcript or comments, which would really be like topics and issues for me, because I want people to kind of open up their own like independent thread, and then I and other people can reply to them. So that's going to be handy to have. Similar episodes, like whatever, not really getting into the details of the course platform now. Like those are like, that's like more like the next step. Like what are these pages going to look like? But anyways, yeah, in terms of like user workflow, this is pretty much like the end game for them. Like there'll be a dashboard where they can see their progress and, do other things that they may want to do with their account, like change an email address or check out the invoices and stuff like that. Probably not going to have like notifications. Like I'm not going to build in like messaging in the course platform. I don't think that would be that useful, mainly because issues and comments is certainly enough for publicly listed videos. If people want to talk to me in private, they can always email me. Also, I'm going to be setting up some other stuff to deal with building a community. Don't want to say anything yet because I'm not sure what I want to use, but maybe a Slack channel, maybe a discourse forum, stuff like that, but undecided. But anyways, yes, this is the end result of the user workflow. So if we go back to here, it's like, yeah, go to the landing page, they click the buy button, they make their account, probably on a separate screen, and then the next screen is they make the payment using whatever, Stripe, PayPal, etc. Then they get logged in for the first time, and they get access to the course where they get a very quick welcome page where they can choose a username, maybe profile stuff, but we'll see. And I think it's important on this page to at least explain why the username is or display name is being asked, because I don't know about you, I'm very skeptical giving information away to a platform. Even if I know the person, it's like, why do you need the information? Like, are you just collecting it because you want the information, or are you actually going to use it? So you got to justify the fields that you ask for. Yeah, so once they get to the welcome page, they pick their username, and then it's like, watch the course. Similar-ish to railscasts.com. I got to say, Ryan Bates, the guy who made that, really ahead of his time. Pioneer for video learning. I mean, his was more like subscription based, where you pay X amount per month, and then he would release multiple videos throughout the month, some free, some paid. Nowadays, it's all free because, as you can see, the last video he made was like just about 6 years ago. So, I mean, that's like one workflow. I mean, there's many multiple workflows, but like this is the main workflow to get people involved with from start to finish to where they paid for it, watching the course. Then there's all sorts of other stuff like, I briefly covered that, like profile information that they want to potentially change, but like that's just the front end for the platform. There's a whole other workflow, like for me on the back end, like creating the course itself. So I don't know if I want to get into that. Like this video really is going to get super long, and like that's super ridiculously related to the course platform. I don't know if that's really going to help you kind of figure out what you want to do with your application. But I guess we can say, like, how would you even describe this one? Like fleshing out features of application. So I actually have a blog post from a couple of years ago on that topic, sort of. And there's even like I don't know how many pages it was, 30-page PDF or whatever, that kind of goes over like high level, like how do you break down these type of features. But I pretty much do that. But I mean, like when it comes to fleshing out like features of like a course platform, you know, or any application, what I like to do is kind of identify really like the components of the application. I think components is a pretty good word. Like I'm not a front-end developer, so these aren't like web components or whatever. Like these are just like functionality of your application, right? So it's like playing videos. Let me also make this a little bit, what's that shortcut? H? There we go. Playing videos, like a feature list of things that like the main focuses of your app. So it's like playing videos, like account registration. And playing videos, pretty sure I'm going to stream these from a third-party service, probably Vimeo, because they're really good. Like I don't really browse Vimeo for like I would browse YouTube, but I have bought a number of courses where people used Vimeo, and I was very happy with the player from like the user experience of the student. So playing videos on Vimeo, streaming, and downloading. Although for downloading, I'm not sure if Vimeo even allows people to download them directly. Maybe those people who made those course platforms, maybe the downloads were outside of Vimeo. But in either case, that's pretty much what's going to go on for there. We're playing videos. We have account registration. Another really big thing, like I'm going to have free and paid courses, but in order to pay for a course, you need billing, right? So like billing, Stripe, PayPal, and I think Stripe even now supports Apple Pay. Something I haven't looked into. It's a very recent thing I heard about on Hacker News. What was it? Maybe like 4 or 5 days ago, a week ago, maybe. I don't know. Probably not going to accept Bitcoin, at least not through, definitely not in the MVP, that's for sure. Maybe I'll accept people who email me if they want to send it to my Bitcoin wallet address independently of the platform. Like that could be arranged, but definitely not going to happen right off the bat. So we have playing videos, we have account registration, we have billing. We're going to need to deal some type of like issues, topics, like Q plus A. I don't know how I decide to word that isn't that important for right now, but they're all basically the same thing. And they're going to have like, you know, user can open an issue. Anyone can comment on issue. Maybe we can all like this starts to get into like the blog post I wrote a couple years ago about like breaking down these features. Like, you know, an issue tracker is a super vague high level thing, but now it's like we start to flesh out little individual features of this. So it's like user can open an issue. Like technically it's like, you know, registered user who has access to the course can open an issue. Right? And then anyone who is registered and owns the course can reply. Sometimes, you know, you don't really need to like indent these to be like a tree view, because that's kind of like editing almost. Like I almost want to like brain dump this faster, right? It's like, well, then it's like course owner's name, you know, might be highlighted or have icon next to it. And this is mainly just for the benefit of students. So when you're dealing with like a thread that might have like 15 or 20 replies, being able to see like sort of like what they do on GitHub, where I don't know how recent this was, but if you go to GitHub issues and you take a look at them, they have like a little like contributor or like a little tag identifying like what type of user this is. So being able to glance that is pretty nice. Also, another thing that might be cool would be like being able to answer an issue, like marked as correct type of thing, sort of like Stack Overflow where you get the checkbox. I'm not going to bother doing the whole voting, like up, down. That's not really, I don't think that's that important. I mean, it's important for Stack Overflow because it's like literally, tens of, maybe even hundreds of millions of developers. I don't know, whatever. They have a shitload of developers who use that site, and it's a public site. So obviously you want things ranked. But if you're a course creator, and even if you, let's say you have like, I don't know, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 people, and I don't have, 50,000 people on my platform, but there's only so many issues that are going to be open. Like hundreds of issues at most, I would assume, maybe for a course that's like a year, maybe 2 years old. And then it's like, of those hundreds, like low hundreds of issues, probably, maybe there's going to be, multiple replies to each one. Like, we're not dealing with such a ridiculous amount of traffic that you would want the really good answers to come to the top. Definitely not going to be dealing with, not dealing with voting up or down answers. That's for sure. Maybe like long term, like, so like this is also another thing to think about. Like maybe eventually I'll do like a discourse model with this. Like if I decide to open source the platform, maybe I can sell hosting. The people who created it, they offer premium hosting. So, and I mean, a lot of non-technical people like that. Having to set up your own forum on a server that you've created, pretty daunting task for someone who's not a developer. So you pay them a little bit of money per month and they do it for you. So, but yeah, like I was saying with the upvoting, like definitely not in MVP, maybe in SaaS app later. See, so like I am thinking about the future of maybe making this like a SaaS app, where I offer hosting and some other stuff. But yeah, that's like, I'm not going to develop the application in that way. And I think this is an important concept to talk about, because it's like if you start trying to make your application do everything, it's going to increase the complexity like a millionfold to begin with. And then you're just going to be like, screw it, I'm out of here. And you just don't even do the project. Because dealing with like a SaaS app, that introduces so much complexity, like multi-tenancy and like dealing with, you have to make your UIs like really easy to use for like the end user, for like dealing with domain names. Whereas like the MVP for my course platform probably can just almost hack things into where it's like what domain name is going to be associated to what course. Like, yeah, there's a lot of ways to get around it to make it a lot easier if it's not a SaaS app to begin with. But I don't think making it a SaaS application later, once I have the application up and running for a while for myself, like that's going to be a much easier process than trying to make it a SaaS app before it's even an app. So yeah, like the lesson there is for sure, keep things as simple as possible to do the things that you need it to do, but don't try to theory craft things that you might need in the future. Otherwise, you're going to be in a world of hurt. You'll never finish. You'll never ship either. That's for sure. Let me think here. Gonna take another water drink here. Yeah, so we have playing videos, we have account registration, we have billing, we have issues and topics, Q&A. What else should we have here in a course platform? Well, there's a whole like playing videos in itself is like a real complicated topic, because it's not just like handling permissions with Vimeo and all that stuff. It's more like how do the videos even get presented? Like, and this is sort of like another way you can start breaking stuff down. It's like, well, what's the database schema kind of going to look like? So it's almost like when you're thinking about a course, well, you have like, well, I'm not even going to put that in there. I'm going to put this as like, I always forget how to spell this word. Curriculum, I think. There we go. I have a hotkey for a spell check here. So yes, it's spelled correctly. So like the curriculum, it's like, well, what composes an actual course, right? So it's like, well, you have these like individual lessons, right? And a lesson can have video, transcript, And then if you want to really get into like database things, like, the video can have many issues, and like an issue belongs to an individual lesson, but that's sort of too low level for this, I think. I kind of just want to like, the idea of the curriculum is composed of lessons, and we also have sections or modules, etc., right? Like some people like the word modules, some people like the word sections. I kind of like the word section because it's like you have multiple sections in the course, and within, so multiple sections in course, and multiple lessons within each section. So, a lesson is a part of the actual curriculum or the course, but really it like belongs to a section. And you can have many sections and many lessons within those sections. And then really those individual lessons, they have multiple things as well, like video, I don't know why I wrote transaction, I meant transcript. Yeah. And then they have issues associated to them as well. Maybe attachments. So I don't know how I'm going to deal with that. So most of my courses, they're set up to where there is like one zip file that you download early on in the course. And that zip file has all the information you need about the entire course. So like in the Flask course example, there's like 20 different folders in that zip file where the application is built up at different stages. And then there's also like a 100-page PDF in there as well. And it's like once you download that one zip file, then you've got everything you need for the entire course, except for like the bonus updates that I've added over the last couple months. So like I updated the application a few times for Flask 1.02, which is the latest version as of today. A lot of package updates, a lot of Docker updates, like those get their own zip file, which makes me think now that maybe the individual lessons do need attachments because, there's multiple ways to handle the zip files. Like if I only have one zip file for the entire course, then I can get away with only really having like this idea of an attachment to be like part of the course, not part of each individual lesson, because that's actually a pretty big differentiation of how it works, like at the database level, because like is the attachment attached to a lesson, but then you can have multiple attachments maybe, or do you want to have it done just one attachment at the course level? Yeah, I'm thinking maybe attachments probably at the lesson level, because that's another weird thing. It's like you make a course in one way for a certain course hosting platform. Like think if it allows you to have individual zip files for each video or each lesson that you make, but so that means that, the videos have been recorded, like me on video saying things a certain way, like that functionality exists. If I take that away, then suddenly it becomes very weird for people to figure out, like, how the hell do you download stuff? Because it will no longer match the video. I mean, you can always re-record those videos, I guess, like the introduction ones where it's like getting started with the course, but I'm going to have to play with that. But I think the idea is attachments per lesson and then kind of just do it like that, where like a lesson could maybe not have a video, because right now on Thinkific they have this idea of like you can make lessons a different type. So it can be a video, it could be text, it could be a download, but I don't know. That's like once you go down that path, it complicates things so much. So I almost like the idea of like each lesson has a video, yes or no, like a Boolean, but it's ultimately one type. Like you wouldn't have a separate type of lesson, like a video type, a text type, an attachment type. Like I think I'm just going to have a lesson that has a video, maybe, because maybe not, because maybe it's just like a reference link of something with possibly attachments or something like that. So I like that idea of just having one lesson type. Yes, I like that. Sometimes I do that too, like when I'm writing notes, and it's so weird to try to like talk about my thought process out loud in real time, especially with like a mic in your face. But sometimes I do this where I'll write something and then I'll like affirm it later on just with a yes, just because it lets me know that like this wasn't just like a half-assed thought. Like this is what I want. Yeah. So at this point, this is starting to get real long, super specific to the course platform, but that's kind of the goal, right? It's like this video isn't just like the watered down quick version of like the 2-minute like tidbit for the, trivial application. Like this is a big freaking application. And I'm sure there's a hell of a lot of things that I'm not even thinking about yet. Like I know there's going to be dealing with all sorts of emails because, and that's another thing too. It's like, well, if you have, I don't know, I just want to throw out some numbers. Like if you have 10,000 people signed up and you make an update to the course, right? Like maybe you add like a bonus video down the line because I do offer free updates for life on my courses, or maybe I re-record like a big portion of it, some type of big update. It's like, it would be nice to be able to email those people. So like email notification for updates, etc., like change log type of things. Some people don't like that. Like I would definitely need an option for that. Users can opt out of notifications if they want. Technically, I mean, this could also be offloaded to like a third-party email service. Maybe I would potentially think about doing that, because once you start dealing with email, even if you use like a transactional service like SendGrid or Spark or whatever the other ones are, Mailgun, yeah, I don't mind that. But then it's like like dealing with sending the email through my platform means suddenly I need to like template out emails and like keep track of who I want to send it to based on certain permissions. Like, are they signed up for this course or that course? And that gets like really, really, really hard. I mean, it's not hard, but it's like a hell of a lot of work, and it's really off topic, I think, from a course hosting platform. So maybe what I could do there, it's kind of like, well, maybe I use SendGrid, etc., and at course by time, I put email, I put their email and tag in list. So the idea here is like all these email notifications wouldn't even be done through the course platform. It would be done through, well, I don't think SendGrid supports like bulk emailing, but like one of those services, like MailChimp or whatever. I don't think I would choose MailChimp, but MailerLite is another good one. There's one that starts with a C, I forget, but whatever, not important. I think that email notifications, definitely offset, definitely do this from dedicated email marketing SaaS. So there are like things that I'm going to need to pay for as the course hosting platform provider, things like the Vimeo subscription, things like this email list software. Whoops. Let's see. So I have email notifications, the whole like lessons and sections and all that fun stuff, issues, billing, account registration, dealing with playing videos, streaming and downloading. What else would a course platform need? I mean, there is like the whole real hardcore like admin dashboard to track and gain insights on how things are going. Like, I want to be able to tell that, wow, something is like attacking my leg. Hold on, there we go. I don't know what the heck it was. Maybe some fuzz or a spider. Ooh, yeah, a spider. But yeah, the admin dashboard, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm going to make this as minimal as possible to begin with. Minimal as possible to begin with. Because ultimately, like, if I really, really, really need to do something and it's not exposed, like in an admin dashboard, like I'm capable of opening up pSQL, like a command line straight to the database, or do it through code. Like, it doesn't really matter. I can do basically anything I need to do from that. But I would like to get easy things done if possible. Like, being able to see a list of people who bought the course. Like I'm thinking about like MVP features, right? It's like, how many people are signed up to X course, because I have multiple courses. What else would be good stats? Like how much is this course making? Filterable by date, because I want to be able to say like, okay, it's May, at when the end of May comes along, I want to be able to be like, well, what did this course produce in the month of May? And then, it would be real sick to make like really cool graphs and like charts and all that stuff, and then projections. But yeah, that's way down the line. I think just now having a number is all I really need. Maybe see numbers for previous 6 months or something like that would also be nice to know, because it's very important to know, are you growing? Although when it comes to selling courses or anything really, to over 6 months you should be growing, I hope. But there are slow months and there's fast months. So like the Black Friday time, usually pretty good. December, pretty bad usually. But then like things kick up at the start of the new year and like whatever. But you want to be able to see that. And I think that's an MVP thing that I would like to have. Yeah, so a way to, I don't want to say like track, maybe, I was going to say track login info, like who is logging in from where, maybe expose that to their profile. Also, kind of like what Google does, where, I don't know if that's an MVP feature though, where it's like, Google will let you know that, hey, a device has been signed in from Linux from this location. Like that's good to know, i.e. like Google's device email notifications. Kind of good to know, but maybe that isn't MVP. Probably not MVP, but useful. What else would be good to have? Like, oh yeah, all right, so I'm thinking now it's like, for both students and admin, like progress, right? Keeping track of, how far are you into the course? Did you finish? This is also another strategy that I like to do. Like these are, as you can tell, these notes are absolute train wreck, right? Like it's super like nothing is formatted nicely, but that's why I like text. That's why I just love writing markdown, because it doesn't get in your way. Like getting it out on paper or in a text document is the most important part. If I have to deal with some like mind map software that's like super restrictive with labels and all this other crap, like that just gets in my way. Because I just want to be able to write what I'm thinking now in real time. And this process is going a lot slower because I'm trying to narrate my whole thing, which is kind of weird. But so like the progress, right? Like how far are you into the course, right? Did you complete this video? And what I was saying before was another strategy that I like to do just to like flesh out features of, what this application is going to do is like, I'll ask questions like this, like, and then the implementation, right, is the details of actually answering this question. So it's like, did you complete this video? If you wanted to break that down, that means each video needs a way to tell if it's been complete or not for each user. So I would imagine probably there's going to be some type of like progress table in the database that has like a foreign key linked to the user and a video, or a lesson, I should say. And then, it could even go as far as track not just complete, but actual, like seconds watched of video. And I'm pretty sure Vimeo's API will be able to, well, you have the course player in your platform, like, yeah, you'll be able to get that information without a doubt. Because the idea would be like maybe like every 10 seconds or something, or maybe 30 seconds. Like, I don't know. Most of my videos, I was saying before, like my videos nowadays where I have like 190 videos for my flash course, most of them are under 10 minutes. So they're between like 5 minutes to 10 minutes. Maybe there's a couple little longer ones, but I think having like 15 seconds or so would be fine. So like every 15 seconds, get watch time of video. And then like complete really now means like if the video is, I don't know, I'm just going to say a minute long, just so the easy math here. The video is a minute long and it gets updated every 15 seconds. Like maybe we can say something like if 45 seconds of the video has been watched, because right, 15 seconds would be 25%, 30 seconds would be 50%, 45 seconds would be 75%, right? So like if a video is more than 75%, right? If a video is greater than 75% watched, compare watch seconds to video total seconds, then that equals complete. Right. Right, because when I upload the video, it's going to be to Vimeo, but I'm pretty sure, let me go back up to here, playing videos. So I don't think for the MVP, I'm not going to be uploading videos directly through the platform. I will upload that to Vimeo, and then I don't know if I'll have like a sync button or something. Like I want to basically put all the information in Vimeo. So like titles, metadata, captions, because closed captions are something that I want to put into all of my courses. Right now it's only on my HTTPS course, but quite a number of people have asked for that. Although I think when I have transcripts, that'll make that problem go a little bit more away. Like I'm not racist against deaf people, but or have any problems with them. Like they're able to learn, and that's amazing. But yeah, realistically, like I don't know, like let's say you have 1,000 people who have watched your course, like you probably won't even get one person who has a hearing impairment, and they're asking for closed captions. So it's like by the time you're ready to add closed captions, you need quite a large audience, I think, to make it just viable to do. Like I don't want to be a jerk, right? But if it's like if 10,000 people are okay with the way things are implemented right now, and 2 people really, really want closed captions, then it's like, but there's 1,000 other things to do on this list. Spending that time to do closed captions for those 2 people, but meanwhile you have 1,000 people who don't necessarily want that right now, like it just makes sense everywhere to ignore the closed captions for now. But I do think closed captions are quite important because there are a lot of people who are not just, fully deaf, but are partially deaf, or a lot of people who maybe English isn't their first language, and they can read English really well, but maybe it's a little bit hard for accents to deal. So they really benefit from closed captions as well. But anyways, closed captions, maybe not MVP for CC, but shortly after. Right, like after the MVP is launched, maybe I would go back and that would be like something I would do. It's not expensive really to get them made. There are services that you can do where I believe it's about $1 a minute. It does add up. I mean, if you have 300 minutes is 5 hours, I think. So like 300 minutes would be $300 if you had 5 hours a course. So a 10-hour course is $600 to get closed captions. It's not really though. Yeah, the money concern is not that bad because it's like you only have to pay that once unless you decide to edit a video later, and then you change something. Then the closed captions would need to be updated. But that's very minute. Like if you update one video, maybe you update 10 minutes of video, like 10 minutes of video, if it's will be $10. But okay, I think. Don't quote me on that math. Right now my brain is like in 8,000 directions, and I'm also streaming this video basically, and it's like literally 55 minutes long. And I already cut at about 20 minutes or 16 minutes because I had to go to the bathroom bad. I had to pee. So you can't really do this when you have to pee. So this whole entire video is going to be over an hour. Jesus. Okay. Maybe I should wrap that up, I guess. So let me think. We went over licenses a bit. If it's open source, maybe you should use MIT or GPL v2 or maybe v3, but you should go to choosealicense.com and check that out. We dealt with the motive at the very start of the video. What's up with your motivation, or why are you making the application? Why are you making the application? We also went over, let's see, like basically, this is the process for for fleshing out, fleshing out features of the application. But as you can see, yeah, my notes are a mess, but this is how I work. Like, this is like the unscripted, like, introduction to my brain. So I will take all of these notes now and really just start hacking away on the project. So like, let's say I do it in Flask, right? Like I would generate a Flask application, and then I would just start tackling, really, I might start with the user workflow stuff. So like I would get the landing page set up, but other things, sometimes I just go for simple wins. Like I'm not a super good designer, but I'm capable of putting together, at least I hope, based on what clients tell me, like pretty good UIs that are easy to use, and they're not super fancy with like fancy graphics or like logo designs or stuff like that. But like, you know, I can take a theme off of like themeforest.com and modify it and implement it and make it look somewhat reasonable. So like a big win for me on a project initially would be basically getting like the theme all set up to where maybe, you know, I can add like a home page or whatever, and just basically get the whole development environment set up, right? Like that's a whole nother thing too, right? It's like get base project up and running. No water, by the way, in this document here. You know, Docker environments probably, for me for sure, it'll be run in Docker, but you know, easy wins, you know, get the theme up and running, and your dev environment set up to where you can edit your code and see changes, etc. It's pretty good to do. And then it's like, well, you should start fleshing out maybe the tech choices that you want to choose. Like, are you going to use Postgres or MySQL? Or I'm not even going to mention like, well, I don't want to start like taking shots at other databases, but I find Postgres to be pretty darn good. And I'm for sure going to be using Postgres. For sure going to be using Redis if I need it, like for caching, and depending on what web framework I actually use to create this application, may also use it as a backend for a background worker like Celery with Flask, or Sidekick if it happens to be Rails, because I do know both Flask and Rails pretty much equally as well. But at the same time, I don't know, like I've been working with Flask for so long, 5+ years, Rails actually a little, I don't know if it's longer. Actually, when did Rails 4 come out? I don't know, Rails 4 release date, because I literally started Rails like almost a day after Rails 4 was released. So now it is, yeah, it's been about 4 years for Rails. A little bit less because right now it's the early May. But yeah, it's not like I get bored with web frameworks after like 5 years or whatever, 4 years. But it's like, I don't want to be that person who just sticks with one framework for literally my entire life, which is kind of weird because actually Rails and Flask are super polished and very successful companies use them. And I don't know, just the way my brain works. Like I've never been someone who was able to actually work like a corporate job as a programmer for someone else. Like I've always been a freelance developer since the beginning, basically. Like I graduated high school and then like went into freelancing like right after. I just like the idea of being able to work on things for like most contracts that I take on are pretty short, like 6 months or less. And well, there's a couple clients I have where I do a little bit per week, like 10 hours a week, but I've been going on for like 2 years, you know, but yeah, the idea basically is I don't have like disorders. I don't think, like I've never been diagnosed as some of those like ADHD or whatever. Like, I don't know, I get bored. And I think all developers do. Like no one wants to work, I don't think, in the same exact atmosphere, same exact project for like a decade at a time. Like maybe, you know, if you're developing like a Linux kernel or something like that, then sure, where it's like an ongoing evolving project that is super successful and has like, you know, a lot still to do. But yeah, I don't know. For me, when it comes to building something big like this, like a whole course platform, I may use that as an opportunity to learn a new framework if I were interested in doing that. Because going back to what was said an hour ago, like scratching your own itch, like if you really want to make something like a course platform or whatever you're making, then there's no better time really to learn something new, whether you use Flask or Rails, or for me, it might be Phoenix. So Phoenix is a web framework written in Elixir. Some people who used to develop Rails on the core team decided to make Phoenix instead, mainly Chris McCord. He's the author of Phoenix. And Jose, don't know how to pronounce his last name, not going to butcher it. He is the creator of Elixir. I don't know if he was involved with Rails. Anyways, none of this stuff is really important. But if I decided to do it in Phoenix with Elixir, yeah, it's a decent opportunity to learn something new, and it may lead into more freelance work in the future, but usually I don't really base my decisions on that. But I really, and I need to drink bad here, my throat is like collapsing. When it comes to really developing a project like this, like I'm not just going to learn a new framework just because I have an itch to scratch. Like there are things in Phoenix that I think will make some real-time aspects of the course platform a little bit easier to develop versus using something like Rails or even Flask. Like it could be done with both of them for sure, but some of the things are just going to be a little bit easier with Phoenix, especially with the way sockets work. And live view still pretty immature right now as of May 2019, but will become a pretty big deal, I think, for certain components of the course platform later on. And I try to think ahead when it comes to things like that. So on that note, I am going to end this video. I hope it was sort of useful. Hell of a lot of rambling going on here. But like, this is the whole process. Like, this is basically my plan. Like, I will refine this a little bit off video because you never get this stuff right on the first shot. But getting it down, just like code, is like the most important part. It's like now you can kind of refactor this and start thinking about things in more detail. And like once you get your go back to the top here, like once you get your base project up and running, then it's like, well, you can start working with your database and start fleshing out features. Some people like to design the UI of the pages before they even write like real server code, like you might just hook up your routes and controllers or views or whatever, and then really just focus on the UI of the app, like the HTML, CSS, JavaScript, etc. That's a pretty decent approach for some stuff, and I may do that as well. But I do like getting my database schemas usually up and running to some basic level at least, but you're never going to get that stuff right on the first shot. So be prepared to write and rewrite a lot of code, especially when you begin with. And on that note, if you managed to watch this all the way to the end, congrats and thanks a lot. And let me know. So like, what strategies do you use when you start a brand new project? Let me know in the comments below. If you like the video, you know what to do, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.